Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and I'm privileged to be joined for this session by a really old friend of Forbidden Planet, Matthew Rosenberg. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really well, thanks, mate. Yeah, very well indeed. It's great to see you again, as always. And we're here to talk very specifically about your awesome new book out on August 4th from DC. The Joker Presents a Puzzlebox with amazing art by Jesus Merino. What can you tell me about it, mate?
Okay, so this is a weird one. Like, they came to me and they said, you know, we want to do a mystery story, and we want it to be sort of lots of smaller mysteries inside it. And that's all they gave me. And I said, okay. And I came back to them, and I Katie Kubert, who's my amazing editor, I said, you know, I sort of want to do it as this kind of shaggy dog story of the Joker telling stories about the other villains. Like he's your tour guide through the villains of Gotham. And they love that. And then from there, it just spiraled and became this crazy thing. So the idea is just that it's there's been a murder in Gotham. We won't spoil who it is yet, but it's a pretty big deal. And all of the bad guys have been rounded up, and the police want to know anything they can figure out. They don't have any leads. And they ask, Commissioner Gordon asks if anybody wants to talk, and the Joker says, I'll talk. They lead him into an interrogation room, and then it begins. And it's structured really, it's a really interesting structure because there's 14 chapters in the set. It's a 7-issue series. There's 14 chapters, and each chapter, Jesus Merino draws the first chapter, and then he draws all the interrogation room stuff.
Right.
And then it's a different guest artist telling the stories of all the different villains, as Joker is explaining who might have done the murder and what their motives are, and you have to decide whether or not you trust him. So it's a really wild, weird, high concept thing, but it's also just a chance to like do all of the Gotham's worst villains in crazy stories. So it's been really fun.
And can you give us a flavor of the other villains who will appear in that narrative, or is that reveal a secret issue by issue? Can you happy to talk about it?
It's tons. So it's I mean, there are some we won't reveal, but you know, Harley Quinn, Killer Croc, Two-Face, Black Mask, Mr. Freeze, Man-Bat, Killer Moth, the Penguin, the Riddler, Punchline. Like it's a who's who of Gotham. If you're a bad guy in Gotham and you didn't make it in the book, that's not good for you.
Yeah, you basically got kite man status or something.
Exactly. You need to call your agent if you didn't make it.
And Matt, who are some of your artists on the 7-part series outside of Jesus?
Yeah, so like Jesus is doing the main story, and then it's just the second chapter, which is a Riddler story. Is Josh Hickson, who's amazing. I think he's about to be a huge name, but he did Sea of Red that's not the name of the book. What is the name of his book? All right, never mind. I'm going to blow that. But Josh Hickson's an amazing artist, and he's going to be a huge name. And he did the first chapter, which is the Riddler story. Junie Ba did a chapter. Vanessa Del Rey did a chapter. It's just a murderer's row of like really amazing, unique artists. So it's kind of all over the place. We're not announcing all of them yet, but like the first issue is Jesus Merino and Josh Hickson, and they work great together. And it's just really been like, it was a ton of artists that I didn't think DC would go for, and a ton of artists DC came to me and were like, would you think they're a good fit? And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe some of these names. So it's really like a lot of the rising stars of DC just doing amazing work.
I mean, that's an amazing place to be in, mate. It feels to me, hearing you describing the story, that it's kind of got like equal parts outside of the Batman and Joker of it all, and the Gotham of it all. It's got sort of equal parts unreliable narrator syndrome, and coupled with a bit of Kurosawa's Rashomon, you know.
Yes, exactly. You know, I think it's very rare that you get to have an unreliable narrator in comics, and so we're really playing with that idea of like not just it puts you in the role of the Gotham Central Police Department because we're hearing the Joker story, and as a reader, you're used to taking what you see as fact, but they're having to dissect it. And yeah, the Rashomon elements of you know, we will see other perspectives on some of these stories and hear other things about them, and it's very fun. And you know, I think it's real different. And the in the thinking of that, like we also wanted to do, we're blending different tones of Gotham and Batman stories. So like a lot of it has the energy of the old TV show, the Adam West TV show, but then it has like hints of Gotham Central. It has hints of, you know, the current Batman run and what Tom King was doing and what Scott Snyder's been doing and what Grant Morrison's doing. And then, you know, every era, like, you know, like there's homages and nods to Frank Miller. There's, you know, like we're trying to sort of blend it all together in this kind of whirlwind of style and storytelling that I think is really gonna be interesting, exciting for fans, I think.
I think that's wonderful. I think one of the great things, as somebody who's been a Batman fan since 1966, when I was 3 years old, by the way, man. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but literally the first movie I ever saw that my dad took me to see is the 66 Batman movie.
Oh,
and
wow, that's amazing.
thus is born the obsession of a lifetime, right, mate? But
Yeah.
but of course, I grew up in an era where I loved the Batman 66 show, and I equally loved Denny O'Neil and
Neil Adams.
yeah, Neil Adams. Yeah, I can't remember Neil Adams. Yeah, Neil Adams. And the thing, but I also lived through an era when, in order to love O'Neil and Adams, you had to really go, well, we've got to put like Batman 66 to one side. And what I love about the place we're in now that, you know, multiple decades have passed and there've been dark iterations of Batman on screen, is that everything is seen as an equally legitimate interpretation of the character, which of course it is, but that allows you then to mix all these elements, you know, in your narrative. That must be very exciting.
Yeah, it's sort of amazing. Like it's I've been really lucky at DC to work on the projects that I've been working on so far, and you know, I just did a issue of Joker, the regular core Joker book with Francesco Francavilla and James Tynion, and that's great because it's the current continuity. But you know, me and James discussed it, and he was like, do a year one era Joker story, and I was like, oh, that's all I need to know. Like, let's go. And so that's really fun. And but you're still tied to these things, and so this is just a fun chance to, like, you know, this is an anything goes Batman story, if you will. So like, yeah, I just love to be like, we're throwing all of this together, and there's going to be characters that people haven't seen in a long time, and characters that people that we're putting in positions that they're not used to. And I think it's really a for casual fans, it's a fun thing to see all these things come together. But for longtime deep dive Batman fans, I think it's going to be a real like whirlwind, and that's part of the story. Is like, it's supposed to be sort of disorienting and confusing because the Joker is telling you all these things, and he is all these things. He is the Cesar Romero Joker from the TV show, and he is all of the Jokers from the movie, and he is the Joker from every iteration of the book. So it makes sense that his story is as equally as much a whirlwind for the reader as the history of Batman is.
That makes such a lot of sense, mate. And of course, Matt, during your career, you've been blessed to work on and done an amazing job with a whole bunch of iconic characters, whether the Marvel, whether the DC, whether they're elsewhere. So what does it feel to be able to like roll your sleeves up and get into that incredible Batman rogues gallery and do what you're doing with it?
I mean, it's funny because it's it's one of those things. When I came over to DC and started working more, they asked me like, what do you want to be doing? And my first answer was Batman stuff, which you feel like is a cliche to just be like, I want to do Batman stuff. Like I want to work with Batman because he's the most popular, he's the most famous. But it's one of those rare cases where the most popular and the most famous is that way for a reason. They're, you know, I think just the most iconic, exciting, interesting characters. And you know, the best creators of my lifetime and the lifetimes before mine have touched them, and so you want to honor that and play with that. I mean, that's always been a thing for me at doing, whether it's Marvel or DC things. Like I feel very much the connection to the greater tapestry that is comics. And you know, when you write X-Men, you want to feel a connective thread going back to Stan and Jack. And when you write Batman, it's the same. Like, you want to go through every era and sort of touch it and be like, it may just be a stitch in this canvas, but like, I'm adding that. And so to be doing that, and you know, my bedside reading stack is just Batman books. I've just been like rereading all this Batman stuff and finding things I missed that, you know, I never read. And it's amazing to just be able to grab that and pull elements of that stuff and nod to it. It's such an honor and a privilege, but it's also like the most fun part of the job. So
yeah. Mate, I get it. I mean, I'm fucking thrilled that you're doing this book, but I'm equally thrilled to hear you just say what you've said, because the idea of you doing it is exciting to me, but the idea of you being excited by that in the process of doing it, that's exactly what I want to hear. I can't wait to read it, mate.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, there's just there's such an amazing feeling of doing these characters where it is a generational thing, where it is you know, characters that people's parents grew up on, their grandparents grew up on. And I think if you don't go into that sort of a little terrified by that, but also a little in love with that, I think you're really missing the magic that is comics.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely well said. So to close out, we have been talking with none other than Matt Rosenberg about The Joker Presents a Puzzle Box, which is published at the beginning of August. And everyone watching this can order from the links attached to this conversation. Thanks so much, Matt. I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon to talk about some of your other upcoming books. And I really can't wait for this one. And everyone at Forbidden Planet's massively excited about it, brother.
Awesome. I'm so excited, and I hope everyone loves it, and I'm hoping I can get over there at some point soon and sign some copies for you all and shake some hands and thank everybody. So
oh mate, you'll be more than welcome. And whenever you make it over here, there is of course a nice cold pint with your name on it right next to that pen.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care, brother. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.